many members of our audience have read, loved, and feel a strong affinity for Number the Stars. But since we are here celebrating the anniversary, before we even hear a reading of it, can you tell a little bit about your inspiration for the story, why you felt the need to tell this book? I mean, to write this book?
Write this book, tell this story.
Tell this story.
Yeah, I had written many books before this one. I don't remember how many, I'd have to go back and count, but say 20 books perhaps, and all of those were fiction. And I had not dealt with any real things that happened in the past. But I went on a vacation with a friend of mine whose name was Annalisa. Annalisa died a couple of years ago, sadly, but she and I were very good friends. This would have been 27 years ago. Our kids had grown up together. She had a son. She was Danish. She had a son who had a very Danish name. Torben was his name. And he collected reptiles, as some young boys do. And every time they went on vacation, we had to take care of Torben's reptiles. I lost a cleaning lady once because she wouldn't come in a house that had an iguana in the kitchen. At any rate, so Annalisa and I, our kids had grown up, and we went on a vacation together. We went to Bermuda together for a week. And so we had a lot of time to just hang out and talk to each other. And we talked about our childhoods. Now, I knew that she had been born and grown up in Denmark. She had an accent. I had met her in the United States. But I hadn't really talked to her before about her childhood until that occasion. And I knew that we had something sad in common. We had both lost an older sister when we were young. I had written a book about that. My first book was called A Summer to Die, and it was about two teenage girls and the effect on the younger sister of the death of the older one. At any rate, I asked Annalisa about the death of her older sister. And she explained that her sister had been newly married, expecting a baby, and that the sister and the baby had both died during childbirth. And I was astounded by that. I said, how could that happen? Denmark is a very civilized country. It has a very good medical care system. But how could a woman die having a baby in a country like Denmark? And she said, well, it was 1943. It was when we were occupied by the Germans during World War II. And then she went on to talk about what it was like to live in an occupied country. And that was really fascinating to me. Now, I was a well-educated person, and I had studied history in high school and college, and I probably had learned what had happened in Denmark in 1943, but I hadn't remembered it. And when she described for me how the Christian population of Denmark had saved their Jewish population, I was astounded. I thought, that's a wonderful, wonderful story, and a true one. And why didn't I remember it? And I decided it would be good to tell that story to young people, which is who I was accustomed to writing for. That was a bad sentence. For whom I was accustomed to writing.
Nobody tweet that.
I wanted to tell it to kids in a way that they would remember it. And so I decided to make a story out of it. Now, the things that happened in Denmark really happened, but the people in the book are made-up people. And yet I had my resource. I had Annalisa there to tell me, when I asked, what did your apartment look like? What did you wear to school? It was she who told me some things that I couldn't use in the book, and writers always look, as you know, for little details that will make things seem real. She told me that the winter of 1943, it was so cold in Denmark, and the people occupied by the Germans had no heat for their houses and apartments, and that people began to burn to break their furniture and use chair legs and things and burn them in the fireplace to create heat. She also told me that she and her sisters and brothers wore mittens to bed because it was so cold. I couldn't use those details in the book because the book, when I finally decided how to put it together, is set entirely in 1 week in October, and it wouldn't have been that cold yet. But anyway, that was the inspiration for the book. My friend Annalisa telling me the story of what happened in Denmark, and my deciding to tell that story for children. And then, of course, I'm going on too long.
No.
Then, of course, I had to do a lot of research to make sure that her memories, which were subjective ones, telling me that she wore mittens to bed and what she wore to